Hello, my name is Julian Lewis and I'm the director of East Architects, and we've been working recently with the City of Amsterdam at Flevopark next to the Indische Buurt and at the east area of Amsterdam. We are really looking at how to improve the relationship between the park and the city. We see that the park does not have to be an end, but it can be somewhere on the way to cities including Iburg and cities to the west. It's actually quite close to the centre of Amsterdam, and so we've been looking carefully at how the capacity for the park to improve and be better connected to the city could be delivered in ways that don't necessarily cost too much money, because we know money is limited. So we're interested in looking at a kind of neighbourhood strategy that makes it possible for the various activities that already exist and new ideas to pull forward a big spatial strategy that can happen over time and can also start tomorrow. We've been working closely with the people who know lots already in the council about housing and parks and streets, and feeding their knowledge into the strategy. We've been looking at the place carefully, seeing how the park and the city relate and where the edges make the visibility and the accessibility between park and city quite difficult sometimes. The amenities in terms of schools and cafes and the sort of public uses are at the moment scattered around. They don't really necessarily help each other very much. If you compare the park in Amsterdam to London, then from our London perspective, Flevopark is right in the centre of London. So it makes us think that actually we can try to strengthen that feeling that the park is within reach, easy reach. There are so many things going on in the park, and it's a very beautiful place, and we do not want to supersede these. They should be helped and they should be supported with the new proposals. We see very different characters to the park, sometimes quite quiet. The water is perhaps underused, underappreciated maybe. The Jewish cemetery is obviously very sensitive and very beautiful. So we see these different natural characters, and we want to strengthen those, and at the same time we want to make it possible for people to access those more, to get into them, to see them, and to actually bring the park more alive. And also to make the city around it more humanised in a way by the proximity of the park. At the moment the park is quite constrained, it feels separate. It has a number of entrances around it, which are the points at which we think improvements can be targeted. Those entrances can be made into good places in terms of increased use for play, access, signage, visibility. Bringing entrances together, the city gates can be improved. The edge of the park can become a lovely place to be, and it can become a place where park and city meet. And into these areas we feel that there is an opportunity to add or enhance uses, play, buildings, signs, anything that makes sense. The university, for example, could have a better relationship with the park. And the route which runs to the western edge could be improved in terms of making a good ramp, and where you arrive in the station, improvements could be made too. There are a number of ways of doing this. It's not all about a big master plan rolling out into projects. In fact, this isn't really meant to be a master plan at all. It's meant to be a neighbourhood strategy that has a clear spatial picture, a long list of projects, not all of which have to happen at once, and a number of ways of going about it. One of which is designing things. Another of them are the neighbourhood events which are already happening. Uses really showing what the spatial consequences could mean. And another one is what is sometimes called catch and steer, which might mean talking to the university to see how their buildings could better connect to the park. So this is about sharing influence, it's about planning across disciplines, and it's about involving everyone in this 5-10 year plan for improvements. And I want to make it clear that such a plan can start tomorrow. And it's important that some things are done in the meantime to get confidence going that can in turn attract money. So a big plan of improvement can be delivered with lots of smaller adjustments, sometimes smaller, sometimes more significant, all around the edges. And then that means that if you get into the park, you are more able to use the existing and new amenities than you are at the moment. We made a model to portray this idea. It was a sewn model, it's using materials, and that's because we see this a bit like a stitching in of new improvements. There's a subtle, surgical, specific adjustment to the area that means that we're not trying to supersede it, one thing with another, but try to enhance what's already there with new adjustments. And sometimes that means new cycleways, wider footways, better lighting, good signage, buildings in the right place, uses in the right place, housing looking into the park. And I'll say a little bit in a minute about making jam out of the berries, which the park already has. So there's a great deal of potential here. And I want to say again that this is not about a big expensive master plan, but it's about prioritising improvements that can make a difference sooner and building confidence to make bigger proposals that make us more money, but also deliver more life and deliver regeneration benefits over time. So it's like a long shopping list of proposals which all tie in with a big spatial strategy for engaging city and park. This particular example is the western entrance where the historic archway is, and this is really about making a better ramped entrance, a nice temporary sign, a new building with housing and arts uses at the bottom. Basketball uses can be pulled outside, perhaps allotments could be pulled outside. It's bringing the park in a way into the city so that as you enter it, you're already aware of it and you open up the visibility and the opportunity for the park to be used by more people than there are using it at the moment. The opportunity might have to do with management. This is one of the other ways to do it, to opening up trees and overgrown bushes and hedges so that you see your way into the area, and then you can make specific adjustments to make the place feel safe. You can also, we're quite interested in the idea of events priming this idea, so we make temporary signs with scaffolding and big graphics which might be developed by local artists. We are interested in what uses that happen in the park, maybe happening around the edges of the park and outside in the street. And we know already that ideas about car-free days are being proposed and developed, so this is joining in with that process. These are examples of recent signs or quite old signs that we're aware of, which really make you feel excited about a place. Arriving at the station at the north edge and the leisure areas, there's good potential, I think, for opening up under the archways of the viaduct, making better connections and seeing sports activities and putting a big sign where the trams come in so you feel you've really arrived somewhere. Much of this is about doing things, using existing structures and shelters and improving the access there to really bring that to life. And part of that can be about events, and part of it can be about the infrastructure of signage and wider footways and cycle paths. This one here is the university buildings. Would it not be good to try to influence the way in which their developments make a bridge into the park so that the park and university can both benefit? Bringing nature and urbanism together makes a rich, socially viable place. And that's, as we see it, something that the council are already doing. And this is about the detail of play. It's about everyday life. It's about being able to make a little concrete tree stump, or making a seat that turns into a ladder to increase your opportunity to climb a tree. It's about seeing the birds close up, or having boardwalks that help you experience the Jewish cemetery. The many diverse ideas, some of which have to do with boardwalks, gaining access through the water, also have to do with picnics around the edge. It has to do with making jam out of the berries. But all of it has to do with making a new access. And one of those ideas has to do with this east-west route. Now, this is a route which we see could be strengthened to make connections to the cities further around over time. And we think that this is not necessarily the fastest route to go, but it's the most convenient way of gaining access to the many uses and amenities that exist in the city of Indische Buurt and in the park. And what we want to do is to link together all of these rich conditions, these different characters, the quiet, the natural, the grown, over time spaces, the streets, and then even the stations to the west. They should all be belonging to the same convenient, legible, east-west cycle and pedestrian route. We're not talking about cars, we're talking about people moving easily through these areas. In that way, you really sew the two places together. And this image here is, you can see there's an idea about a boardwalk that makes it possible for you to be in the water space. There's another idea about being able to swim a little bit more in the lake, and another idea about getting boats into the distillery, beautiful building and use in the middle. Some of this can happen pretty soon. It's a bit like getting people excited, where they begin to see the potential through more delicate, early, local ideas happening that then lever a bigger idea, longer term idea, and at the same time speaking to developers at the same time. It's really actually working together with the council, with the stakeholders, with the architects to make a plan that can be developed over time. So finally, in a way, this is the picture of how it could be. It's a sewing into the place. It can happen over time, it can start tomorrow. We would love to continue to work with you on it, and we would love to hear more about what you think should happen here. Thank you. Hope to see you soon.